Okay, welcome back. I think this is the day a lot of you have probably been waiting for because this is the day I actually start cutting arguments instead of just background research. So here's my first go at sort of some experimental links. I figure you guys can probably cut a lot of your own uniqueness and impacts. I'll cut some of that later, but I like the links right now, especially early on in the topic. I want to find as many possible causal chains that extend from the resolution as possible. So here is my attempt at a Prolif scenario on the con. So we have two links here. We have one about possibly breaking the NPT and rendering it less effective at restraining proliferation in other theaters. And we have one that's also hidden in this card that says, like a minor posture shift might trigger a ripple effect where other regional powers might see it as a justification for strengthening their own extended deterrence arrangements or pursuing nuclear arsenals. And that's just like, I guess, a direct link that doesn't depend on the NPT. So that's two. Number three is this is a funny, sneaky one. It's just like literally France is going to give nuclear weapons to these countries, either one, so that these nuclear countries can learn from them and develop their own arsenals, or two, which is what this card says, it might lend them nuclear weapons so that these countries feel comfortable making their own arsenals without the threat of a Russian preemptive attack. Because one of the common things that holds a country back from making its own nuclear arsenal is that it knows that other countries, its adversaries, might strike it before it's finished. But if you lend them nuclear weapons while they're in the process of making their nuclear arsenal, maybe they have more confidence in actually going through with it. And then there's some sneaky T stuff here to sort of facilitate this argument a little bit that says independent might refer to like nationally independent. I still don't think this is the case. This seems like nonsense given all the literature that I've read, but it's an argument. This one is a bit more interesting, which is that the word create in the resolution might mean that it has to be specifically new, but the existing French independent deterrent capability is not new. So you have to share it in order to make a new one. That seems like maybe that implies that you have to make a new nuclear capability in the form of proliferation. So at the very least, these are like possible interpretations. So this card says that there might be an incentive, the incentive for Paris. I should actually probably highlight this. The incentive for Paris would be to achieve strength in numbers, whatever. Not going to happen, but it's an interesting scenario. Link four, this is all Schofield stuff from the book, says that there might be a leapfrogging effect. Now, it's worth bearing in mind that what Julian Schofield is actually talking about here is more like a wider range of nuclear sharing than the topic probably entails. So he's also talking about like literally giving nuclear weapons to people, which would facilitate nuclear weapons expansion, but also like giving people the technical expertise and like plutonium enriching reactors or producing reactors, I guess, that can help them intentionally help them get their nuclear weapons program off of the ground, which is probably not what the topic entails, but it does say nuclear sharing. So I guess we can use it as a link card. The number five is this proliferation stuff, which also comes from the Schofield chapter 4 that I read yesterday. So that's out now if you want to go hear me read it or read it yourself, which is talking about nuclear proliferation races. The idea is just if you share, then maybe your adversaries will also feel pressure to share, and then you'll share more, and then they'll share more, and then you start to share with less and less stable countries, and you start to get this proliferation race that could spiral into nuclear war. And it says that the main reason that people don't do nuclear sharing is because they want to avoid exactly this. So maybe that's another reason why we shouldn't do nuclear sharing in this instance as well. And then link six is this credibility contagion thing, which is that states in the international system will maybe update their or recalculate their perception of the credibility of the US extended deterrent based on the actions of the EU and France here. So it's like if France and the EU are doing a nuclear sharing arrangement, that probably indicates to you, if you're looking from the sidelines, that they don't really trust the US extended deterrent that much. I mean, they're supplementing it or maybe even replacing it, at least in the perception of maybe some other allies. So if you're like Japan or South Korea, you might look at this and be like, wait a second. Um, they're kind of jumping ship a little bit, or at least hedging their bets. Should we do the same? What do they know that we don't know? Do they have some special information that makes them rationally calculate that this is their best option? And therefore, should I do the same thing? It's kind of like if there's a pandemic and everyone starts staying home, you're more likely to start staying home because you start to trust everyone else or believe that they have specific information. Similar things happen in investment, right? Like if you see all of the smartest investors start to invest in a particular asset, then maybe you'll follow them because you believe that they have privileged information. This is something that happens throughout history, so it is worth taking into account. I didn't find great cards on this. I'm sure they're out there, but we'll settle for the fact that this is one of the justifications for not doing French nuclear sharing in the past. And then finally, we have our little impact scenarios, which also double as a hidden link because they actually don't require proliferation or any of the other links to operate. This one's great because it also is a takeout to deterrence. It's about the stability-instability paradox, which is the idea that even if you have stability in terms of nuclear arsenals, as in both you and your adversary have nuclear weapons, and you know that there's mutually assured destruction between you, you actually create instability at the level of the conventional warfare because you know that they're not going to engage in escalation or you think that it's irrational for them to escalate to nuclear war because they know that you know that they know that mutually assured destruction would be entailed. So you actually are maybe more comfortable doing things like proxy conflicts or even direct conventional incursions because you know that they're not going to escalate that because you know that they know that you know that they know that mutually assured destruction would happen. So this is this weird paradox that actually has been studied pretty extensively in literature. In fact, empirically, this is a little bit different from the classic stability and stability paradox stuff. But this evidence from Kronig, which is pretty famous in debate, says that shifting from nuclear instability, so that's like if you have nuclear weapons and I don't. For example, most of the countries in Europe are probably under a state of nuclear instability with regards to Russia. But if you shift into nuclear stability, so if now suddenly you both have nuclear weapons, you both have a secure second strike, you both create that mutually assured destruction, that actually empirically increases the probability of conventional war or some kind of conflict by 950%, which is a pretty sizable increase. Obviously, it's from a pretty low baseline, but that's still a pretty sizable increase, especially when we're all talking about war as if it could definitely happen and we should take it seriously in debate. That's something that I think gives you a very good impact. And then I've snuck in here a little bit in the taglines, something that I think is actually quite rational, which is like even if proliferation doesn't create it, it's certainly possible that either the recipients of the nuclear weapons from France or Russia itself might feel as if they have entered a position of nuclear stability, if they trust the credibility of the nuclear sharing enough, which seems like something that's sort of necessary for a lot of the AF links to operate anyway, so they'll probably concede to that. And therefore, these cards might be triggered even without proliferation. So a bunch of interesting pieces of offense here. I guess technically this means there are 7 different ways that you can get to these impacts from the cards that I've listed here. So hopefully you find that interesting. You can find more impacts for that if you want, or take some inspiration from it to use in your practice rounds at camp or in your research outside of camp as well. So let's, as always, take a little stroll into the real world and do some GeoGuessr. Hopefully this goes slightly better than last time. Made a little bit of a blunder in some of these countries. Um, ooh, and off the bat, this looks quite difficult. Um, First thought is Colombia. Um, could be Ecuador. That would be funny. That's where I'm living next year. Could even be Mexico. I don't think this is Mexico with these mountains. I don't know that I've seen mountains that specifically look this green and extreme. So I kind of want to go Colombia. There's always a chance it's something else, obviously. But let's see. Can we check the sun? Actually, well, it's not super helpful, but actually the sun is kind of in the south, which leads me further toward Colombia and away from Ecuador, because Ecuador would be more like I feel like it would be more rare to see the sun squarely in the south, since it's near the equator. So it's pretty flat over there. Maybe we can kind of line this up. I don't really know. It's probably a fool's errand. But maybe it's over here. And yeah, it was Colombia. Great. Central Western. What is this? This looks like Europe. We have small cam, which is a new card that's being introduced. Kind of looks like France to me, but I always get this wrong. But that does look like a blue sticker that we saw last time. So I guess this is France. Geoguessr is giving me a lot of France for the France topic, I suppose. Um, and where in France is the difficult part? Also, we have French over here. Just saw that. So that would confirm it. We got the France region guess wrong last time. Let's try to get it right this time. Um, these houses look quite northwest, I would say. So I'm gonna hedge a little bit central northwest, see if that works out. And it was quite northwest, so I actually should have gone with that instinct even more, but I think it was burned after last time. This looks like maybe Germany or a bordering country. Um, let's see. Do we have, so it wouldn't be Luxembourg, so we don't have yellow license plates. Could still very well be Germany. We can actually check if it's Germany. We have a blue car, which checks out. Do we have the copyright for Germany? Um, can't really see it. That looks like, ooh, that looks, I can't really make that out. But it kind of looked like 2023, which would check out. No, this is not Germany. It was 2020, I think, actually. This looks like it's going to be um, Czechia or Slovakia. Which one though? We have red addresses. That was, I don't remember which one that was. I think that's actually Czechia, rather than Slovakia. And indeed, we have the little cap on this thing, which would be more common in Czechia. And I should have known this is not Germany because these wooden poles probably would not have been there, and the architecture. Now that I'm looking at it, looks very Czechoslovakian. So let's slam it in Czechia. And it was just near Prague. So good guess there. Next, we have some what looks to be Thai language, Thai polls, just like last time. Um, I want to get a good region guess this time because I failed on that last time. Does not look like we have snake guards this time, nor do we have any palms of any sort. I guess we have one coconut palm. That's very sparse. So I am going to be more confident going more northern this time. We don't have a lot of elevation, so I think just the like dry stuff over here probably is a good guess. And it was. So happy with that. Final round here looks to be in uh, my future home country next year of Ecuador. At least I think. So let's just make absolutely sure of that. Um, that was Spanish, so that would check out. This poll looks pretty good. I'm not too worried. I think this looks somewhat Amazonian as well, which would check out. So let's maybe, I mean, it's pretty flat, which you get in like multiple areas of Ecuador, but I kind of think this is maybe east of the Andes. So let's try it. And it was great guess there. Okay, very happy with that. I should be getting good region guesses in my future home anyway. So yeah, good 23K score. Happy with that. Could have been even better if I had actually committed to the France region guess. But yeah, overall, a good game, a good day to learn more about the world. And I hope that you found this helpful and interesting. I'll see you again tomorrow.